And one thing to keep in mind is the rule of 1/3. So 1/3 of your leads are going to come from your first email, meaning people are going to reply, say, yeah, I want to talk to you. I'm ready to buy the software. Obviously not ready to buy the software, but like they might be interested. 1/3 of the leads are going to come from the next 2 or 3 email responses. The last third are going to come from the rest of your email responses combined. So I like to have somewhere between 7 to 11 touch points. I found the best strategy is to get your product in the hands of users, customers, and as many of them as possible, however you need to. So the virality from just usage grows the business. So you becoming a user or customer have a virality component by using the product. I find a lot of people, when they write their emails, the tone of the emails or the way they present themselves is so different. So, for example, if you're trying to sell to marketers, don't look like a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
You know what a lawyer looks like? Yeah. Very polished suit, they've got a 3-piece suit on, perfect headshot, right? In fact, again, what I like to do before I reach out is do my homework. I'd like to make my cold emails warm. So what I do, I connect with them, if not follow them on LinkedIn. I like and try to engage with their posts before I email them. So like week 1, I build my prospect list. I filter out the people who are obviously bad. I categorize them. Week 2, typically I connect with everybody on social media, not necessarily Facebook, but Twitter and LinkedIn. Again, works really, really well for B2B. Week 3, I email them.
This episode is brought to you by Venture Mastery, a platform bringing you the best talent from the entrepreneurial world. The platform which connects successful entrepreneurs to other business owners aiming to achieve success. If you've ever wanted to get more leads, more customers, and more revenue, if you ever wondered what successful business owners do differently, what strategies do they follow, how do they apply and execute? If you ever wondered how other entrepreneurs manage to scale their businesses, then you're in the right place. Our mission is to become one of the best educational resources for entrepreneurs who have tried and failed continuously. Anyone can build a business, but only 1% can master it, grow, scale, and prosper. We help you get into that 1% with proven methods used by 7-figure entrepreneurs from all around the world. We will cover all aspects of running a business successfully from a practical standpoint, covering everything you need to know about money and finance, leadership, sales, marketing, wealth management, mindset, and how to get you motivated day by day. So if you'd like to find out more about our programs, keep up to date with our upcoming online courses and one-to-one interviews, please follow us on either Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or other social media platforms of your choice at Venture Mastery, or check us out online at www.venturemastery.co.
Okay, thanks for tuning in to my next episode of my own podcast. I'm your host, Phil Amery, founder and CEO of Venture Mastery, and today I have a special guest, Sujan Patel. He's a data-driven digital marketer. Hi, Sujan. You have 14 plus years of experience in digital marketing and SaaS industry. You are managing partner at Ramp Ventures, as I understand, under which you are building quite a lot great products, SaaS, and you are buying SaaS companies right now. Companies like Mailshake, or there are several others you are building, and you have extremely amount of experience in growing and scaling SaaS companies. And you like motorcycling and racing cars, as I understand.
Yep, I love it.
Sujan, and we've got thanks for joining. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Great, great. Thank you for having me. Excited to chat with you today.
Okay, we have two great topics for today. Hopefully, we will have time for the second one as well. But the first topic is quite interesting for hopefully for our audience, for me as well, about outbound sales and the right sequencing for people so that you are not annoying them. Sujan, can you tell a little bit more about this, about your experience, about do's and don'ts and mistakes you should avoid and sort like that? And we can discuss it later on. I will have my own insights or experiences or my own thoughts about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people make many mistakes um, when it comes to cold emailing and doing outbound sales. Couple best practices that I think will help you get 70-80% of the way there. Keep your emails short, to the point, scannable, with a clear call to action. You know, if I'm emailing you, hey, Phil, I know you have this venture mastery podcast, blah, blah, blah. I'm Sujan from blah, blah, blah. Let's talk, right? Do you have 30 minutes tomorrow? Now, the next tip here is, no, I'm asking for a phone call. That's a lot, right? Next tip is keep your call to actions very, very low friction, right? Try to get the response and the conversation started. If you ask for someone to marry you the first time you meet them, you're going to get laughed at, right? If you ask for a phone call, you know, you're a busy guy. You're running a business. You've got you have a family, you have a life. How do I deserve a phone call, right? Prove to them that it's something that of value. So for example, let's say, I know you run a podcast. Hey, Phil, I love your podcast. Loved listening to the episode with so-and-so founder. How are you recruiting podcast guests? Question, right? Next thing is like, look, we've got Mailshake, which is we use by dozens of podcasters to find and reach out to guests. Their success rate is far greater than doing it manually and other tools. You should check this out. Is this something, are you looking to optimize or improve the process of recruiting guests? Right now, I've mentioned something specific about your podcast. I said, I love this person interview, right? Even again, fake it till you make it, or fake it. How many podcast episodes do you have? I can Google it and find out, right? I don't need to actually listen to your podcast, but you want to be specific. You want to be relevant. You asked a question that's harmless in the beginning. I said, are you looking for more podcast guests? Of course you are. You're running a podcast. You always need guests. The answer is obviously a yes. It's a quick, like, yeah, I am. What's up? Right? Even if I ended with that, that might be okay. Then I talk about Mailshake, and I talk about the fact that we have many, insert social proof. And then I ask an easy question, like, do you want to get more do you want to improve your process? Now, again, you could say no, but it's a harmless question, right? I didn't say, hey, let's jump on a demo tomorrow for me to walk you through it. Now, I could do that. That might be a good way to go about it, but that's option B. Start with a low friction ask. That's tip number 2. I obviously mentioned 3, 4, 5, which is be relevant, be specific about something you like that they did, something that they wrote about, the person did, their company does, something you admire that's helped you. The more specific you can be, the better it is. And then low friction ask. Okay. And one thing to keep in mind is the rule of 1/3. So 1/3 of your leads are going to come from your first email, meaning people are going to reply, say, yeah, I want to talk to you. I'm ready to buy the software. Obviously not ready to buy the software, but like they might be interested. 1/3 of the leads are going to come from the next 2 or 3 email responses. The last third are going to come from the rest of your email responses combined. So I like to have somewhere between 7 to 11 touch points over the course of a few months. typically spread out between 5 to 10 days apart, right? And think about it this way. When we originally had this podcast, there was a snowstorm. If you emailed me 7 days afterwards, I don't know, I finally got power back. I can talk to you. I can think about stuff. I might still be very busy. If you waited 10 days, I forgot. It's sunny. I don't know, but I don't remember the snow apocalypse. So, 10 days go by, something significant can change in their life, getting better or worse. So somewhere between I like to think about this as like a work week or work week and a half. So that you can change their position. If they're on vacation, 10 days later, they might be okay. 5 days later, they might just be catching up or still on vacation. So I don't find it as a perfect mix. Now, the last tip in general, best practice, and then we can go into like more specifics and whatnot, but is to make sure your follow-ups, email number 2 through 11 or whatever, are relevant and value add. What's value add? What's not value add is, hey, Phil, I just wanted to follow up on my previous email. Well, duh, that's what your email is doing by hitting the send button. Use those words to say something more impactful. Hey, Phil, are you out of guests yet? You should use Mailshake to refill it, keep you busy for the next year, right? Think about that. Or, hey, Phil, here's a case study. Or, hey, here's a blog post I wrote about just better subject line to get a, whatever, or interview questions for again, all value add, because I know you run a podcast and I'm going to target you right now. Now, remember, so think about things, whether it's questions you can ask them, articles you can send them, think about all the marketing collateral. It doesn't even have to, here's the thing. It doesn't even have to be from your own site. It could just be something relevant to them, right? I could read a TechCrunch article and oh, look, TechCrunch says podcasts are booming. You must be on fire with the right industry. I'm just making stuff up here, but more relevant, the better. And always have an excuse to email them. Simple questions are always good. So again, low friction ask, get people to engage in a conversation. If I'm let's just say you and I are walking and we're at Starbucks, right? I just want to say hi. I can't get you to buy whatever the hell I'm selling unless you say hi back and we start a conversation, right? So the email premise is to get the conversation, aka a reply back. The more you go in to say, let's book a demo, the call, whatever, the less you are going to get someone to respond back to you, right? And again, the more value add, the better. And persistence is key. Even if you get a no, that's great. Now, I want to go back to one more thing that I started with, right? Phil runs a podcast. How did I find out that Phil runs a podcast? And how did I find out about his podcast episode, right? Well, I found out because guess what? I did my homework. So let's say Mailshake. Okay, Mailshake is used by salespeople, marketers, link builders, people for doing PR outreach, podcasters. Now, those are all different segments. Those are all my ideal customer personas. There's probably a handful more too, right? Marketing agencies, what have you, recruiters. So I will go find, let's say I have a prospect list, I will categorize them into those buckets. And I will have my VA. So my process is, I will say, I'll use tools or various tools to find an email list. I'll have my VA help me categorize them. I'll define the process, categorize them, and then find something relevant about them. Right now, again, I might even have the same email with a slightly different personalization for recruiters versus podcasters, right? But it's the same approach that can work. So categorization doesn't have to happen at the Phil and Sujan level. It can happen at the podcaster versus recruiter level, right? So categorize them to their function, their category, and keep it simple. Don't try to be over personalized. And personalization is not knowing someone's name and company. That is default.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. I think I can be a good case study for you, for example, because what you are offering with Mailshake, I for sure one day I will try it out. I am at the beginning, so this can be a great lesson for someone also starting this out. I have never done video podcasting or whatever. I'm not native English and so on, and I started in January. And alongside, I'm also doing consulting. So I'm not doing this at this moment full time, but I'm planning to work on this project full time within a year. So I'm not at the stage when you are scaling. I just started out. You are, by the way, number 11, my my interview number 11, which is I think it's great. I'm outreaching on LinkedIn and usually spend 1 hour or something like that daily or every few days or so or something similar. And for me, it's just enough as for the start. But of course, when I'm starting to scaling this, I will accelerate and I will most probably I starting to build up a team of my own. There is a lot of to be done in the background. I mean, editing videos and so on. I will not just publish as it is, raw as it is. So um, maybe we should emphasize also the importance of differentiating outbound with inbound outreach or marketing, because outbound is, as probably you also mentioned, outbound is all about you as a company or a professional. For example, in our case, I reached out to you via LinkedIn, as I remember, and we exchanged view. Probably I'm still not doing it the perfect way, but it's still working. But I perfectly agree with you because I also did a lot of outreaching via Skype, and when I was working as SEO. By the way, I checked your profile and we started in SEO almost the same time.
Nice.
At that time when really nasty things you could do in SEO. So you knew exactly when Google bots are coming to crawl the website and so on. So that you might also remember. So, and by the way, inbound marketing is the other thing when, for example, in SEO, people are coming to you, are engaging with you, and not you are engaging with them. So we didn't know each other. So I reached out to you. You probably checked my profile and you thought, okay, this is a great guy. Let's see. Okay, let's do this interview or something like that. But I perfectly understand that this is all about starting a conversation and basically make friends with those people you are planning to engage with, and sometime in the future probably make do a business or something like that, sell something or cooperate with him or her or something like that. And I think that's crucial. It's not about selling or getting married on the first date, as you mentioned also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think one thing you just pointed out that I want to add here is what your profile, what you look like, what you come across as. I think that's very important, right?
Yeah.
If you're just getting started, Phil, you're reaching out to your 12th podcast, your 100th podcast. Very different, right?
Yeah.
Number 12 is way harder than number 11.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, then number 100.
Yeah.
And I think it's all about how you represent yourself. And so I think let me just share some tips on how to best represent yourself and where and when it's irrelevant. Yeah. So whatever you do, if you're writing an email, don't talk about yourself and what you do and how awesome you are and all the details, because you can talk about it for a paragraph or 2 or 5. Put most of that stuff, if not all, in your footer, in your signature. This is where it belongs. And the reason for that is signatures are scannable. When I email you, the first thing I see, or the second thing I read before I get back to you with a yes or no, I look, who the heck are you? Right?
Yeah.
I might click on your link. Oh, are you the top podcast in sales? Oh, awesome. If you just put top podcast in sales, now I'm going to click on it. But now I know you're relevant, right? So, or you work with XYZ companies, you have 500 customers, you got this award, best place to work, whatever you can do to lead with your best foot forward, right? Or in your case, it might be I've interviewed Gary Vee, Tim Cook, whatever, right? Obviously, those are people you probably haven't interviewed, but like
not
any
yet.
people you've interviewed for, not yet, number 100, right? But anyways, my point is social proof all belongs in the footer, the link, your LinkedIn profile, right? So, your LinkedIn profile is great if you're B2B because then you might have connections with them. In fact, again, what I like to do before I reach out is do my homework. I'd like to make my cold emails warm. So what I do, I connect with them, if not follow them on LinkedIn. I like and try to engage with their post before I email them. So like week 1, I build my prospect list. I filter out the people who are obviously bad. I categorize them. Week 2, typically I connect with everybody on social media, not necessarily Facebook, but Twitter and LinkedIn. Again, works really, really well for B2B. Week 3, I email them, right? So if you click on my link on my LinkedIn and my profile, you might find, oh, I'm somewhat connected to you, or this guy connected to me. Who is this guy? Oh, I think I know him. It's all about being a little bit familiar. Again, don't write about yourself. Like, don't start your email, which is what I see most emails do. Hey, Phil, my name is Sujan Patel of Mailshake. Let me tell you all about the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm Sujan Patel of Mailshake. My name is in the email. It says Sujan Patel subject line, right?
Yeah.
Why do I need to tell you my name and company? And if you want to know my company, you could glance over at the email signature and whatever, right? So my point is, don't waste critical time. You've got about like a half a second of someone's brain power when they open your email. If you waste it on, hi, my name is Sujan from Mailshake, which is obvious from before opening the email because you can see my name and my company name. Now you've wasted a half a second on something useless.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
And this sounds a little basics, but I find that most people mess up on the basic stuff, the fundamental foundation and structure of the email. And when you mess up there, no amount of fixing and savvy call to actions and however many follow-ups you do, you just kind of are digging yourself out of a hole, but you've lost someone's attention.
Yeah. And I think it's also important the person who is outreaching to someone, if possible, to be in the same industry. For example, in my case, I've been working in digital marketing for the last 14 or 15 years. And the business I'm doing now is similar. So I can have a conversation with you about this topic. And all the people I reached out are in the same industry. They are either entrepreneurs or digital marketers or some kind of profession which is related to what I have experienced in. Otherwise, it would be, like a tough sales guy or someone whose only purpose is to sell something in which he has no experience or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having the relevancy, or at least making yourself come across that you are in a similar industry, meaning add things in your latest social profiles, right? Like make your stuff. It's like when you go to a job interview, you put on a suit, right? Maybe maybe because everyone's remote now, you only put on the top part of the suit, right? You put your tie on.
Yeah.
Same thing. When you email, before you email someone, make sure you look the part, right? And again, if you're going to go interview for a job as a salesman at a car dealership, what are they wearing, right?
Yeah.
Look that way. I find a lot of people, when they write their emails, the tone of the emails or the way they present themselves is so different. So, for example, if you're trying to sell to marketers, don't look like a lawyer, right?
Yeah,
you know what a lawyer looks like?
Yeah.
Very polished suit, they've got a 3-piece suit on, perfect headshot, right? Marketers,
digital
they like
marketer. Let's put up the caps. Let's put
exactly, exactly, right? That's really what it comes down to, right? So look the part, sound the part, right? Here's a fun fact: if you're talking to accountants, which are a little bit more formal people, they're weary of, they're a little bit more conservative. You want to sound formal. You want to sound authoritative, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking to marketers, guess what? If you talk like a formal person, you actually just don't fit in. You just already stand out. So write sentence the way it's more casual. And the way I like to kind of, when I write my emails out, I actually read them out loud, but like a 10-year-old. Like I read them really slowly. Like I'm just kind of learning to properly read, because that's the person's brain when they scan it and the amount of time that they give you. And again, like if you're emailing lawyers, sound like a lawyer. If you're emailing marketers or salespeople or a CEO, sound like that CEO. One of the best sales tactics, or not best, but one of the basic sales tactics is called mirroring. And so if you like cars, I'm trying to sell you something. Guess what? I like cars too, right? Yeah. Even if I don't freaking like cars, I like cars right now, right? Yeah. If you're like, hey, yo, and I'm going to say, hey, yo, and use those types of words, and I'm mirroring you. And if you're using lots of hand gestures, I'm going to use hand gestures. You're leaning in, I'm going to lean in. Same thing in an email. You could do that same thing by just doing a little bit of research, AKA stalking, right? How do they sound? Yeah. Have they done any interviews, whatnot? But anyways, the more you do research, which takes away from the actual emails, the more accurate and better the response rate. And, I just did a case study with one of our customers, and they got like a 70% success rate on their podcast. And Phil, I promise, I'm not trying to sell you Mailshake, but I just happened to
I will anyway try out.
Yeah, I promise. But it's a really good, easy example, right? I just talked to somebody as a customer who got a 70% success rate when they email people to do a podcast interview. 70%. And what their only difference between what they write, their email copy wasn't even that great, was they spend time doing the research. So, and guess what? The research is actually the cheapest part, because you could hire VAs, you could outsource this. You could, we've got a couple Upworkers that we pay like somewhere between $5 to $10 an hour to filter and do the work that we the process that we define essentially.
And by the way, what about the research phase? What is the main purpose of this? How shall we imagine? It's about reaching out to fewer, but for those you have done the research, rather than bulk outreaching for, I don't know, hundreds of thousands automatically without any research.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the research and filtering and who you don't email is very, very important, right? Yeah. So a couple things. So there's email, there's kind of quantitative and qualitative research and verification, validation that you should be emailing people. So let's just say you're selling to software companies, SaaS companies, B2B SaaS companies, okay? Yeah. You went to you found or bought or scraped a list through LinkedIn, insert, Zoom Info, Voila Norbert,
Yeah.
Uplead, whatever, right? There's places, Seamless. There's so many places you can find contact information. Okay, so you got this list of people. Great. You're not at all ready to email them. Why? Because you don't know if their emails are accurate as of the day you got them. You don't know if you actually should waste your time on emailing them. And you don't know if that person is actually the best person to contact or relevant even, right? Because all the tools in the world, they don't have the human review. So first and foremost, what I like to do is I like to do an email verification, right? So I'll use an email verification service, Voila Norbert, X-Verify. There are plenty. Just Google email verification. Choose your pick. Doesn't matter. They all kind of do something similar. And get rid of the emails that just are inaccurate. Or maybe the person moved jobs or whatever, right? My guess is you're going to probably weed out 20, 25%, maybe more of your list. Okay, take those all out. And if you're getting started and you're new, there might be a category you get back that's like definitely not good, bad emails, or maybe. And the maybes, get rid of them too, because you can't afford to hurt your email reputation. So that's step one, or really step one. Step two is use your eyes, spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, look through that spreadsheet and look through, does this seem accurate, right? And the reason I say this is that, like, how many Bill Gates are there at Microsoft, right? There are probably a dozen. And there are hundreds of Bill Gates in the world, right?
Yeah.
So how do I know I've got the right Bill Gates? And Bill Gates it's not the most common name. Even Sujan Patel, like my name, is fairly unique, but there are a lot of different people named Sujan that you could get wrong, right? You just get the wrong person.
Or Patel.
Right. Exactly. Patel is a very common last name. But anyways, my point is, you're doing this qualitative, like, cognitive analysis to just look through to make sure it's kind of right, looks right, and you're emailing maybe the right person, right? So let's say you build this list and the CEO of Oracle is on there. Like, well, if you're selling to B2B software companies, there's a 99.999% chance you don't need to talk to Larry Ellison of Oracle. You need to talk to somebody at Oracle, probably not the CEO, right? And so now you're like, okay, I need to find a better person for here. So that's step two, is kind of find the weak links or things that are there. You're probably going to remove another 10 to 15% of people, or maybe you need to revise the people. So that's when I do a manual. That's when my Upworker or VA gets involved. And what I want to find now is what type of SaaS business are they, right? And I want to enrich the data. You can use tools like Clearbit, Zoom Info, Full Contact to enrich the data programmatically. Again, you upload the list, they'll get you more information. Absolutely great thing to do. Kind of expensive, but absolutely worth it. You get all this sorts of information, like how big the company is, what their role is, maybe you can get their phone number, what have you. So that's important. But now you on top of that, get your VA to actually find out what category they are. Maybe if they've been on a podcast before, if they wrote any blog posts, like, try to find any categories. And what I like to do is I like to do the work myself. So I'll take the top 25 people on the list and try to find anything common things I can find, right? Because the VA, the Upworker, they're just going to do what you tell them to find, right? Do they have a blog? Yes, no. But what if they don't have a blog and they're on a podcast? Well, they're not going to find that. So kind of look and figure out anything you can find about them on LinkedIn. And this is where, if I can find the LinkedIn profile manually through my VA or automatically through like data enrichment, I will actually connect with them on LinkedIn. And so that's really the process. So my 1,000 emails typically turns into somewhere between 400 to 500 or less. And then I email them. And even then, of the 400 or 500, I will email 100 of them and do a sniff test to see if anything I'm saying resonates with them. Because if my email to the first 100 people doesn't work and no one responds, guess what? The next 400 people I email with the same strategy, it's going to get the same shitty results. Now, if I try again to that same list, they may have already seen me and have a bad impression of me. Or they can just ignore me again. Or chances are, if they didn't open the email or they marked it as spam, now I'm less likely to get in their inbox. So do the test and then scale. And again, I find too many people just go straight to scale. They find a list of 1,000 people, they email the 1,000. And what ends up happening is after you email 1,000 without doing any work to filter them, you end up reaching probably a few hundred before your email gets sent into the spam folder, or you get blocked from sending in general. So do the work up front. There's many pieces to this. If you're looking for a solution to do all this for you, I'm going to give it to you really easily. There isn't one that's perfect. Some do it really well for the sending emails. Some people do it finding. There's not a perfect tool, because if there was, then we would all just go buy that tool and then just be doing this all day long. There's a bit of a science and an art to this. And you need to put in the work to actually get those results.
And you are right. That's what I also did with my research. I'm doing with my research. Still, I'm not in the scaling process, but the reason I'm getting quite a high response rate is simply because who I'm reaching out, they already participated in some sort of podcast or something like that. So by the end of this year, I'm planning to have 100, but I need 20 to create intro videos and so on, and after that I will accelerate, and I think I can have interviews every day if I'm doing this full time. Okay. Still, we still have some time. You still have about 10-15 to talk about scaling. I think you have extremely amount of experience scaling SaaS businesses, especially in case when you don't really have fundings or on a shoestring budget or something like that.
Yeah. So that's the second topic. I think very different mindset, right? Now scaling your business or starting, getting customers for cheap. Well, first of all, cheap is really a synonym for hard work, right? It's not money. You're exchanging the lack of money for a lot of time and your efforts, right? I find the cheapest channels for growth, the most cost effective, a great product, right? Something that just is the opposite of everything else out there. Think about Zoom, right? Zoom is not at all a revolutionary product. It just solves a big problem. And frankly, it got the timing right too, right?
That's extremely important. Timing is,
and so it's not even an industry. Let's just forget the pandemic and the growth that came from Zoom during the pandemic. Even before the pandemic, their growth was amazing. And so again, pain point in the industry, video conferencing is crappy everywhere, right? Even Skype sucks, right? Even Zoom sucks. Like everything's bad. Zoom decided to focus on like latency, continuous connection. So for example, if you're on like Log Me In or any of the older, like I forgot even the names now. It's been, so long, Zoom's ingrained in my head. If you lose internet, you get disconnected and you have to restart. On Zoom, if you lose internet, you will not disconnect from this conversation. It will just freeze, but you'll be connected right back when it comes again. And or when you have a latency issue, they will downsize the quality of the video and blah, blah, blah. I have no stake in Zoom. So like I'm just giving a clear example of what a good product is versus what frustration was, right? So that alone, good product is marketing. That's the best marketing. Now, when you take a good product, if you make it free and you put a limit on it, okay, that is marketing. So what does Zoom do? They made it free for end users, and they put a 45-minute limit. Why 45 minutes? Because most conversations with multiple people are 1 hour long, right? So now, and they don't stop you from using for 1 more hour. You can extend it. They just remind you and every guest on the video, if you're a free user of Zoom, like, extend the video. Your Zoom is about to expire in 10 minutes or whatever, right? So now, and if you see that prompt enough, well, you're gonna buy it. It's that simple, okay? And the second part of this is Zoom, and not all industries have this, but if you can leverage this, let's just say you use Zoom and I didn't, and you invited me to this podcast and I did Zoom. Oh, cool. This is awesome. I've never used this software before. This is great. What is this software called? Zoom. Okay, I might try it, right? So the virality from just usage grows the business. So you becoming a user or customer have a virality component by using the product. Now, I will tell you, not most likely new software businesses or new companies that are coming out in 2021 will not have a virality component like Zoom or like Hotmail and putting it, or powered by Gmail, sent from iPhone. That doesn't work anymore. But keep thinking about it. Something will eventually click and you might get something. So what I find, and I've got multiple software companies and I've done marketing for a long time. I found the best strategy is to get your product in the hands of users, customers, and as many of them as possible, however you need to, right? So Mailshake launched a lifetime deal on AppSumo twice in 2016. We got 6,000 users using the product. Those 6,000 users have generated millions of dollars for us and gave us lots of critical feedback. Now,
it wasn't, what is important to mention, it wasn't the final product. It was probably still on MVP or something like that, but you already had clients and you developed your product based on your clients' feedbacks.
Absolutely. And that's actually that's actually a good segue, because that's the next thing I'm talking about is like is building your marketing before you build your product. So
that's what I'm doing right now. Basically, I don't even have the final product at this moment.
I love it. There you go. Exactly. You do the marketing day one. You got an idea. Cool. You're convicted to you have high conviction, go build it. Okay. Validate it. Let's just say you did all that. Now you're going to go really build it. Start marketing day one. Because if you can do marketing pre-launch, the more you do pre-launch, the more impactful everything you do on launch day and afterwards will be, right? So, like Mailshake, we launched even before we did an AppSumo deal. I think we got like 200 customers or so, like within the first week, because we launched in July and I came up with the idea in February, and March 1st, we had a landing page with the email form and a blog, right? And we started collecting email addresses from March to July. We had collected 3,000 emails. And now part of those emails was me doing guest posting and promoting it when I was writing on my blog and whatever. But anyways, I had a place to people to subscribe. So on day one of launch, I just emailed all of us, hey, we're live. Now, obviously, what goes without saying, and I want to mention here, is that from March to July, I continuously emailed that list every week, every other week with value add content and just a little bit of update on what's happening. And what I did is I got them interested into what we're doing, curious and maybe vested, right? And that helped quite a bit.
And you started to build, because it's important to say that by marketing at this stage, we mean building your tribe, building a community who resonates with what you are trying to accomplish and serve them to solve their problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the more, again, pre-launch marketing, building the brand, the more you can do upfront, so much time is saved when you actually have the thing to sell, because now you've got an audience, right? Building your audience, building your brand is so hard to do. And when I say hard, they're not actually hard. They're just time consuming, and money can't buy time in this case. So like, think about Nike, right? Like Nike spends so much effort building their brand, right? From day one, they got runners. Like the Nike story is they started as a running company and they got runners, professional athletes, or even amateur athletes to wear their shoes. Why? Because when you see someone run really fast, what is that shoe? I want to buy that, right? So like, try to get users with influencers, doesn't matter who they are, just try to get users using it, people talking about it. And so I guess the third thing, and I want to leave you with this, is really easy, cost effective, and just the groundwork to grow your company and scale your company is getting influencers and people who are the who's to write about you, to use your product. Now, don't try to charge them. Don't try to come up with an affiliate deal. Just become their friends and ask them if they would want to use the thing for free. So here's what I did. If you Google sales tools or content marketing tools, when we first started, we were a content marketing tool. Now we're more of a sales tool. But if you Google any of those keywords, what you'll find is one thing in common. There are probably 20 or so blog posts talking about the best sales tools, the best content marketing tools. There's an author who wrote them. There's a company who published it. Go ping the people there that wrote the article. Go ping the people in the top 50 and become their best friends. Ask them questions, cold email them, give your software away for free. It's amazing, how many people will just take you up on it, right? Because a lot of times these bloggers, they're not like wealthy. They're who's going to reject free software? Now, remember, you're giving a journalist free software, so make sure it's journalist ready. If it's an MVP, you're not ready to use that tactic yet. Go iterate, right? Because you won't get a second chance. And don't ask for anything in return. A lot of people will say, hey, I'll give you the software and can you write a review? No, wrong approach. Give it to them like, hey, look, I love your sales tool. I wish one day I hope one day our software can make the list. Look, no strings attached. Here's like a 1-year license to the software. Just go use it. Let me know if you want me to walk you through it. Like, happy to help you set up. Like, do whatever it takes to get them to use it. Don't put any strings attached, because guess what will happen if they have a positive experience? They will write about you. If you ask them to write about you, they will not. And if they have a bad experience, guess what will happen? They won't write about you. They'll tell you the bad experience so you can fix it, right? And again, become their best friends. Ping them in 6 months. Hey, what do you think? Like, anything you would add? And SEMrush did this to me, and they gave me they gave me access to SEMrush for free, like in 2017, I think 17 or 16. But here's the thing: they gave me 6-month access, only 6-month access. Every 6 months, somebody from SEMrush emails me and like, hey, look, are you still using this? And I'm like, yeah. Don't cut my access out. Keep giving me SEMrush access. Like, I love this thing. Like, you're saving me so much money. I love this tool, right? So I've probably referenced them like 50 times in the last 5 years because they gave me access to their software. Not really because they gave me access to the software, because I use it all the time. I probably would have referenced them maybe 5 to 10 times, but they keep freaking emailing me to remind me that they are giving me access and to renew my access. So find a way to email those people. Find a way to keep that conversation happening every 6 months. Now, if you did it every month, that's really freaking annoying. Nobody wants access to software for 1 month. 6 months, 1 year, that's kind of good. And they've never, ever asked me for anything in return. And because of that, I write about them more because I know that they're not asking for anything. Now, again, like I can afford $100 a month. In fact, I'm also at one of my companies, a customer of SEMrush and probably 3 other competitors. But like the fact that they gave it to me for free and I write about marketing and SEO content just makes me want to talk about them. So that's a very easy example. And don't feel bad if somebody's like, no, I don't want it, or like, nah, it sucks. Use that for customer or competitor research. No, I don't want to use Mailshake, even though you give it for me. I'm using blah, blah, blah. Well, why do you like blah, blah, blah? Like, what do you love about it? What do you hate about it? Like, get that information, that's very, very critical for you to know your competitor's strengths and weaknesses, because like I mentioned in the Zoom example, if you know your competitor's weaknesses, you can actually make them your strengths. And that is really Mailshake. So Mailshake, again, I'm not trying to promote here, but Mailshake is in a space with 82 competitors. What makes us different than the 82 other players in the space? And it's probably by the time between when we record this podcast and when it goes live, there'll be 85 players in this space. Yeah. What makes us different is our usability, our UX, our ease of use, right? Why is that the case? Is that an accident? No way. Before we built the damn product, we said, what does everybody have in common? What do people hate? And what do people love? How can we do the opposite of what people hate? And so we just did that. I guarantee you, whatever industry you're in, anytime you're going to go G2, Capterra, go on LinkedIn, just go on Twitter, just type in your competitors' names and reviews and see what they love and hate, and do the opposite of hate. Be the best of what people hate about your competitors, and you will win. Like Zoom, you will win. You'll get way further with the product, and that will do so much of your marketing where you don't have to spend as much money to get customers.
Yeah. Sujan, thank you very much. I think it was really useful and we learned a lot from you today. And I really hope that next time we can discuss about other topics. And thanks again for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And it's been a blast talking to you about sales, outbound sales, and getting your first, few hundred customers.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet you once again and talk about some other topics.
Absolutely. All right.
See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
This episode was brought to you by Venture Mastery, one of the leading educational platforms for entrepreneurs aiming to grow and scale their businesses. Thanks for tuning in with me, your host, Phil Amery. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where we'll get you updated with our upcoming courses, one-to-one interviews, and latest entrepreneurial success stories from around the world. I'd be honored to hear your thoughts and feedback. So please leave your comments and help us in producing even more engaging and valuable content for our next episodes. Thanks for joining us.